All right. So did everybody enjoy snapper season? Was it as tough for everybody else as it was for me? You know, and I can't, you know, I've come up since snapper season started, you know, the first, I think it was maybe my first trip was my best trip of the year. It was one of the few days I needed to catch 18 and I actually caught 18. But since then, boy, it's been tough. And I think, you know, it's kind of off tonight's subject, but, you know, I think there are several reasons that snapper season was tough this year. And the first part of the season, you know, the water got warm so quick. And I don't know if everybody noticed, but the snapper were just full of this little bitty gooey creel. And that normally spawns in August. And so they were full of that early. Then, of course, we have the 2 full moons, which slow them down. And then July came around, and I don't know about for y'all, but for me, everything I've caught the last 2 to 3 weeks, whether it's been mahis or kings or snappers, they're all full of little bitty teeny rain minnows, and they're just gorging on those. So I think there's a lot of there's several reasons that turned into us having the early snapper season, but I was actually concerned about how many snappers we would have in the fall and thinking that the fall season section may be kind of slow, but now I'm thinking as the weather cools off with the few fish that we did catch early in the year, that we're probably going to have a pretty good fall on them. So we got that to look forward to. So
we caught black snapper where we never caught them before.
Yeah. Black snapper fishing was good, pretty good all summer, so can't complain about that at all. So, Amberjack season. You know, right now Amberjacks are, unless they change it again, looks like we're going to have them open at least, right now they're scheduled to close, I think, at the end of the year. It was the same way last year, but they did close I think they closed October 17th or something last year, so I expect we're probably going to be about the same this year, depending on how many fish we catch. But we should get all of September and a good chunk of the rodeo. So you want to go out there during the rodeo, make sure you get your one you're going to put on the leaderboard early. And going to go some of this we go over on almost every time we do a bottom fishing seminar, and a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight will hold true whether you're fishing for amberjacks or snappers or groupers or whatever. And just on groupers, in case anybody doesn't know, you know, groupers are open September 1st also. But we only get 17 days of groupers. So make sure you do that. If you plan on going grouper fishing, get in on that early. But we will have, you know, September's going to be really nice because we're going to have 3 week, or will it work out to be 3 weekends? Maybe only 2 weekends. We'll have 2 weekends where we have snappers, groupers, jacks, and triggerfish. Take advantage of that because we may never see that again, where all of them line up, where the stars line up like that. But keys to bottom fishing. Learn to fish natural bottom. We're going to talk about all these things in depth too. Heading sensor, trolling motor or helm master, using a big enough weight to fish vertical. Don't be afraid to gear down to get bites. Chumming, really, this one probably not really in there for amberjack fishing. I don't think chumming normally works for them. A variety of baits, and we're going to talk about the different kind of baits, and then slow pitch jigging, all of which will be really good for amberjack fishing. Now I just got a bunch of little random amberjack pictures here. Most of these through here are all from this year, the spring amberjack season. But heading sensors. I ran a trip it's been about 2 weeks ago, and it was for some clients or customers that come in the store. They've been coming in for several years. And they used to have a 19-foot boat, and then they went to a 21, and now they got a 24-foot boat. And I actually thought that they had fished a fair amount, and they fish a lot, but I don't know that they're really doing things the correct way. But they finally, they hired me to take them out. And, well, when I took them 2 weeks ago, it was probably the first time I think they had ever even attempted to catch live bait. They've been fishing for years and years and years, just nothing but frozen bait. And it was almost like a little, the one thing that we did have on the boat was a trolling motor. But other than that, I felt like I was basically back in the Stone Ages. No heading sensor, you know, and they've been customers so long, I just didn't ask enough questions. And, you know, and some of them I wouldn't even really think to ask. But one of the things, when I got down to the boat that morning, we get out there and we start catching bait, and I'm looking around going, where's the washdown hose? Oh, we don't have one of those. I'm like, wait a minute, there's herring blood everywhere. I don't know if y'all have ever caught live herring before, but one herring is about like a mahi. There's blood everywhere. So I said, well, how about a scrub brush? I can just dunk that over the side. Yeah, we got a brush. They bring me out a little hand brush. I'm like, oh no, it's going to be a long day. Well, typical of this summer, we get our bait caught, we run to the first spot, get there, I walked back there and went, baits don't look good. I stick my hand down on the live well. Of course, like everybody, it seems like every boat I seem to get on this year, the live well doesn't work. Live well's also, now this is a problem because we don't have a washdown hose. You know, my go-to, this will be a good tip for everybody. If your live well does go out and you have a saltwater washdown hose, you can finish the day. Just wrap something on that hose nozzle where it'll stay on, throw it in the live well and run that. That will at least get you through the day. And I've done that on more than one occasion this year. But I didn't even have that option that day because I didn't have a washdown hose. But we caught fish. It was all right. We ended up doing all right. But heading sensors. You know, if you don't have a heading sensor, if you don't know what a heading sensor is, we talk about this a lot. But if you go to pull up to your spot, and you know, when you're pulling up, you got your little boat here, and there's a little pink line that's going to the wreck that you want to go to, and then there's this other little line that's over here to the side. Well, the little black line should not be more than about 5 degrees off of where you're going. But when that little black heading line is 20, 30, 40 degrees off, when you start to turn, you're having to adjust for that. And the boat on the screen is not turning nearly as fast as the boat is actually turning. But when you're trying to round up on a spot and find the location that you need to be in, and I'm going to have another slide here in a minute that's going to talk more about location too. That's something new. Having that heading sensor eliminates 90% of what we call heading lag. So when you turn the wheel, the little boat turns on the screen. Super, super important, and it's not an expensive item. They're under $300. And the old, and Garmin has the newer heading sensor they have is the GPS 24XD. If you have autopilot, you're already going to have this. But if you don't have autopilot and you don't have a heading sensor, under $300 will make your life so much easier. So the next thing about heading sensors. So here's the place we're going to go to. Now, the first place you go to every day, this is an absolute guess because there's no way to know this before you get there. Some days, the stars are going to align, everything's going to be perfect. The current, the swell, and the wind will all be coming from the same direction. Well, that's easy. If you have a trolling motor, you bow into it. If you're using Helmmaster, you're going to put the stern into it, and you can pull up to the place, and the boat will stay where you want it. But most days, these three are three separate entities, and which one is going to be the most dominant? So the very first place you pull up to, the very first place you go to, just go ahead and just track up to the spot, stop. Don't worry about fishing for a second. Everybody just calm down, because normally my people, especially I run several boats with little kids, are already, can we go now? Can we? No, we ain't even close yet. We got 5 minutes. Y'all just sit down. But I'm gonna pull up to the spot and let the boat naturally drift off in one direction or the other. That's going to tell me which is the most dominant of these three. You would think it's always the wind, but the current could be just as strong as the wind. So once if we pull up to the spot and then I look and see that we've drifted over here, now that tells me when I pull back up to the spot, I'm gonna set up like this with if I have a trolling motor, my bow into the wind with helm master or joystick where it's gonna hold us in place. It's gonna be my stern into this. Unless the conditions change throughout the day, whatever compass heading you're on, when you go to your second place, just remember that I had to be pointed 220 degrees for my boat to be in the proper position. That way, the next time we go to the next spot, as we pull up, we know we need to come over here and come to the spot this way. The reason you want to do that is if you just pull up to the spot and just randomly hit your trolling motor or randomly hit your helm master system, if it's not too bad out that day, whether it's wind, swell, or current, at some point the boat will, and it may take 5 or 10 minutes, the boat's kind of going, and it's trying to figure out what it needs to do. Well, in the meantime, people start dropping and the boat's still trying to move. Now you get people tangled up, they're in the motors, there's different things going on. If you set the boat up correctly, it'll only take it 30 seconds and it'll get locked onto where it needs to be. Because we want to be on top of the spot. We don't want to be somewhere randomly off over here. So learning to set up the boat, that's a big key. You know, of course, there's trolling motors if you have a smaller boat, and if you have a larger vessel, you want to have the joystick helm master system. Now, helm master is a Yamaha product and it interfaces with your Garmin's. They do have a system for the people that have Mercury's. It's called Skyhook. What I understand is that Suzuki is going to have a version of this later this year. So don't hold me, I don't know anything about the Suzuki one, so I can't really talk about it. But as far as if you have the option and you're going to purchase a new boat, purchase a boat with Yamahas. If for nothing else, for the helm master system. What makes it superior to everyone else's, it will hold up bow to or stern to. And with a trolling motor, you want to hold up bow to so that the bow is here, the stern is here. Well, the trolling motor is always going to go forward. So when you drop your lines, they're going to move away from the trolling motor. If you're using helm master, you're going to hold up stern to. So if this is the stern of the boat, you drop it down, and then when the boat needs to adjust, it backs up and your line goes away from the motor. Well, the problem with the Mercury system, it only has fish point bow. So it works like a trolling motor. Well, that person in the back of the boat's always going to want to move forward, so his line's going to always want to move towards the props. And that's something that's just going to cause you nightmares, because if you get this braided line that we fish with in the props, you need to stop and get it out. So that's one of the things that really makes Helm Master unique. Now, as far as trolling motors go, I've always been a Minn Kota fan. Minn Kotas and Rodans, they're both good units, but neither is truly designed for salt water. Garmin now has the Kraken trolling motor. They have their own version of a trolling motor, which is a extremely good trolling motor, designed with salt water in mind. And I'm pretty sure about this, that it's made for the mounting holes. If you happen to have a Minn Kota now, and when you decide you need an upgrade, whether it's broken or you just want to upgrade to something better, the mounting holes are all the same. You don't have to remake holes in your boat. It'll just, your old one comes off, this one goes on, mounts in the same exact spot. What makes the Garmin the best of the trolling motors, even over the fact that it's saltwater design, it integrates with your Garmin electronics, and it works just like an autopilot at this point. Has its regular remote, it Bluetooths, you don't have to run extra wiring, everything will happen over Bluetooth, so you don't, you can wire it straight into your NEMA 2000 system, or you can run it off the Bluetooth. But it works just like an autopilot. So when you're pulling up to the spot, well, you get there, you turn the trolling motor on, and you got the place picked out on your Garmin unit, it's going to drive you up to the spot and stop. It'll do it all on itself. That's the cool thing about the Garmin one, along with the fact that it's truly designed for saltwater. And it's not an item that we carry. But even though it's not something that we carry, we want to tell y'all about the things that are going to make y'all's life better. So those are the kind of the things that we need to know about our boat. If I'm correct, yeah. So questions about that before I go on? Yes?
Is the Kraken self-deployed?
No. That's probably on tap for next year. Most of the question was, do they self-deploy? A lot, even with the other brands that do self-deploy, I hear more problems from those than any of them. That's a failure point. Somebody else had a question.
I found the holes to be about an 8
8
to 1/4 inch off.
to a quarter. At least if they're that close, we could probably put some 5200 in there and make it work. A little 5200 will fix anything. Yes.
I run Simrad. For Simrad, the Rodan actually connects to it and does that same.
Does it?
Yes. It
Okay.
does the same anchoring system for autopilot with Rodan. It has a gateway module that you buy that connects between them. And
Yep.
you can just touch it on your screen and say go here, and the trolling motor. Once you get close to it,
Yep.
just put the trolling motor out and get it. It'll take you right to it, heading up to it.
Okay, so that's something I need to know. The Rodan will sync to a Simrad unit. So that's pretty cool.
$500 for the gateway. But
So everybody that's here tonight needs to go on Facebook. If you don't know who Alex Fogg is, he's the head of our Reef program here in Okaloosa County. Everybody needs to message Alex Fogg and tell him what a great job he is doing. Alex has built, I don't know exactly how long he's been with the county now, somewhere between 4 and 5 years. He's built more stuff in 4 or 5 years than the county has built ever. And the sheer number of places and quality places that he's managed to build are incredible. This is just a little short list of some of the wrecks that he's done. But up 5 years ago, if you didn't have private wrecks or you didn't know anything about natural bottom, boy, amberjack fishing would have been tough. Because amberjacks, they like big natural bottom rocks, ledges, and big steel structure. We've never had this much steel structure, big steel. Alex has done a tremendous job of this. So everybody needs to go on his thing, go on and message him, say, Alex, great job, keep up the good work. As far as the numbers to all these things, there's a website, DustinFWB.com. You go to this website, and you just scroll down the page, and then you go about 3/4 of the way down the page. It's a good little scroll through, and there's reefs, and there's PDF, there's Excel format, and a downloadable format. give you all, it'll be everything that the county's ever built plus everything that Alex has done. Because like I said before, we had 4 or 5 ships to fish. We didn't have much. And now there's a ton. So, what I want you to I don't know how everybody has their electronics set up, but one thing you need to do is, this is a winter project if you have not done this, because this is a time-consuming little project. But you need to symbolize the places you fish, you know, and it doesn't matter what the symbols are. This is just for you to make your life easy. But if you'll get your thing symbolized, you got one symbol that means it has mingos. You got another symbol that means it has mingos and triggers. Another one that says it has snappers. One for grouper bottom. One for amberjack bottom. All the different species you need to have different symbols for. And you need to do a little legend in a little Ziploc or heat shrinked and stuck up on the dash so you know what all these little symbols mean. This is actually mine. And you see it as I zoom in, they just keep changing symbols. They start coming up. Well, on mine, I've made all the big ships be big yellow dots. So anywhere there's a big yellow dot, that's one of the ships that the county has out. What's cool about this is that you can, on your Garmin, you can sort by symbol. So if I'm going on the iPad, I can't do this. But on the actual Garmin, I can sort by yellow dots and see nothing else, just yellow dots. If I'm going snapper fishing, my snapper things are little red triangles. So I only see the red triangles. Don't have to worry about the other stuff that's just cluttering up my screen. Well, when I go back to my active captain, all right, where are the yellow dots? Wish I had an actual Garmin unit so it'd make this a little easier. Oh. So yellow dots. So let's see. Like I said, we had 5 years ago, we had about 5 big steels. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 57 steel structures that you can go, and all these yellow dots are on that DustinFWB.com
You're not counting
website.
stuff like the box cars and stuff for you. Still. Okay.
There's 57 that we have out there now. I mean, we have more wrecks now than any place in the state, and that's all on Alex. And those are going to be places that you're going to want to have in your system. If you don't have them in your database, you need to go add those and symbolize them to something that you can see.
Are those mileages from the pass?
Yes. And when you're there, so these are, right now they're showing, I don't know what I was doing when I snapped that photo. That one actually is wrong. But yes, the mileage is, let's go back to active captain and we can have. I must have the boat somewhere because it's. Yep, now they're correct. Must have clicked something. But what,
You
but,
have them listed by distance or are they just random?
so they're by distance from where we are right here.
Okay.
Now, when you're out there and you're fishing and you sort by symbol, it's going to be distance from where you are.
Closest one, yeah.
So the top ones would be the nearest ones to you. So you can, okay, I don't need to run to that one that's 20 miles away. I've got 3 ships within 5 miles of me. I can go fish those. But having a symbol for everything that you have in your Garmin will make your life easy. And to change those, if you can do this from the boat or you can do it, to me it's easier to do it at home. Because I have my phone and my iPad, I can sync them to the boat. Well, if I want to change one, I just click on the one, come down here to symbol, and then I could change it to whatever symbol I wanted. But it is a matter of going through and changing 1111111. It's a lot of work. And everybody has different amount of numbers in their file. I have almost 3,500. So the other thing that will help you out a bunch is if you haven't purchased, is relief shading. So we talked about Rex that Alex built. Then we have natural bottom, which is we want big rocks and ledges to fish on. Well, basically every rock and every big ledge that's out there is on the relief shading. If you don't have it, the old version was Blue Chart's G3 Vision. The latest one that's out now that Garmin has is Garmin Navionics Plus. The old one was proprietary to Garmin. This will work across multiple platforms. The only one I don't think it works on is Raymarine, but I'm not, there again, I would call Garmin and check with them before I bought it.
Did they buy Navionics or just?
Yes.
other equipment?
I bought Navionics. They bought it for this platform to be able to move it to all other stuff. Because used to we had to, if you had other people's, like if you didn't have Garmin electronics, you had to get it through like Seymour or there's a couple others out there. But their versions were much more expensive. They were in the $600, $700, $800, and $900. The Garmin version, the new Garmin version actually came down in price $100. It's only $249. There is a yearly subscription if you want updates every year. It's $100 a year. I don't think you need to sign up for the updates. Just do that about every 2 years. They don't scan enough new bottom yearly to make it worthwhile. And when I say scan enough bottom, let me go back to my active captain. And I'm gonna come in here kind of inshore, and you can see that I have really good shading on the ridges. They show up very well. Well, that's a section that's been scanned. Well, when I come in here a little bit inshore, you see I start to lose a lot of that definition. That's an area that hasn't been scanned yet. So they don't scan enough new area to probably pay the $100 every single year. But get an update every 2 years, that's really good. And as far as using it once you have it, well, this is an area bottom. This is about 70 miles down to the southeast, but this could be anywhere. It's the same thing. If you're just running straight navigation or fishing charts, you have a white screen with some contour lines on it. And you start looking at some of these spots, well, they're kind of close to a contour line, but that's probably half a mile. You can't go off the contour line to find that place. But when I turn on blue charts, relief shading, you'll notice the spots, they're not correlated to this contour line, they're correlated to that ridge. So I could drive down here to this ridge, get at the top of the ridge and just start driving the boat down the ridge, find every one of these places. Well, this is what I say, you can find anything you want. So some of the best, so we have all of our ships that are all up there within 25 or so miles. But some of our best amberjack fishing is anywhere in that 40 to 70 mile range. Well, down here, as we start down to the southwest, so Destin will be up here, and I'm sure everybody is familiar. That's the southwest edge. And then as we move over, this is the south edge. And then we come a little bit further east, is Mingo Ridge. And there's Mingo Ridge. So those all show up. Well, as we come down here to the southwest, this is down 12 or 15 miles from the southwest edge. This is the deeper section of the yellow gravel. So you have all that area. And that little section is what we would call the Pensacola Steps. Some people call it the Rodeo Bottom. Some people call it Jurassic Park. But this is an area you can just go along and fish from rock to rock to rock to rock. These fish will move a lot along this piece of bottom, but that's probably what we're looking at there on the screen is maybe a 2 square mile area. But you could start up here and just start working on these rock ledges. This is groupers, amberjacks, snappers, scamp.
What's that, 300 feet?
372 here, 276 back up on the top. But everything, and when you're out there on the boat, as you're moving, your little boat's moving right along this. You can see exactly where you are. Yes, sir.
We're from Pensacola area. How far south out of Golf Pass is that?
That's probably about 55 miles there. Probably about 50 out of Pensacola, 55 out of here. Actually, I can tell you. Might be a little further than that. 65 miles to that spot.
What do you say you call that spot?
It's the Pensacola Steps, the Rodeo Bottom, Jurassic Park, and then to the southeast, we have, so this section southeast, this is what we call the Alaska Plateau, and I'm sure there's other names for this. I call it the Alaska Plateau because one of the big wrecks out there, it's actually a Walton County wreck, it's a boat called the Alaska, and it's right down in here somewhere. But anyway, you got this huge plateau right here. Where it falls off out here offshore of it, oh, it's 3 something and it comes back up into 160s. But up on top of this plateau, There's just ridge after ridge, and you can see some of them I fished, but a lot of them I don't even have numbers marked on because I haven't fished there. But there's just tons of little ridges up in here. Again, really good area for all your different bottom species. And then a little bit further down, this is what we call, there's another set of ridges that are out here by themselves. This is what we call the if you ever heard somebody say the 750 bottom. Some people call it the Christmas trees, some people call it the 750 bottom. Back in the days of Loran, I don't know, back in the late 80s, this was on a 13 750 and a 47 750. And that's where the name 750 bottom came from.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
But for $250, you have every rock, every ledge, everything that you need to know. And so I'm talking about some of that stuff's a pretty good ways out there. But let's come back up in here. The Liberty ship sits right up here, but look at how many ridges and ledges you have just 2 miles off the Liberty ship that are, a lot of this is unexplored. I've fished there my whole life and I don't have numbers on this one. This big ridge right here, I have nothing. And I should have 3 or 4 places right there. That's 8 miles from home.
What's the depth difference from the bottom to the top of that ridge?
That one, it doesn't actually tell me. So just looking at this one, I'm gonna say that's about a 6 foot ridge, 6 to 8 foot ridge right there. That's 8 miles from home that I don't have a number on, that I should have a number on. And so this will lead me to, well, so we have the things that the county's built. We have Garmin blue charts. And then this will be out of a few people's price range and give some of y'all sticker shock. But you need to have some of your own private places. Places that the county didn't make, that you can't find on the Garmin stuff. You need your own private chicken coops. And there are several options. There's a company out of Orange Beach that will do the pyramids for you. If you want your own pyramids, those are expensive. They're about $1,500 a piece. But there's a guy here in town. He's a contractor, but he's at my store almost every single morning except Sundays. His name is Joe Young, and he builds the chicken coops that everybody has out there. I have 2 loads sitting at his place right now to get put out for the next couple of years. I got 20 coops sitting at his place right now. I actually have 40 coops, but when we build a chicken coop place, we chain 2 coops together to make a spot. They're 4 by 4 by 8. And so now they'll be 8 by 8 by 8. And it's an easy permitting process. If you want to do this, you get in contact with Joe and he'll get you the form. You pick out the how many you want. They come in sets of 10. You get 20 coops, which makes 10 places, and they average about $650 a piece when you pay for the coops and the hauling and everything else. You don't have to actually do anything. You just go talk with Joe, set up everything, and they're going to get deployed in the water. And I trust them. I mean, they've been building reefs for private people and charter boat guys for years and years and years. If they put out a wreck for you, they're going to get you pick out where you want them to go. You tell them the numbers that you want them to be on. They're going to go deploy them. You're going to get a list back, and because they're never exact, because the current's going to move them around when they're dropping them and stuff. They're going to be real close to the number you wanted, within 100 feet anyway. You're going to get your list back. They've verified where they are on the bottom. You're going to go check them. make sure that they're there. Then Joe's going to take that little piece of paper and be like James Bond and heat it up with a lighter, set it on fire, throw it away. Those numbers aren't, I wouldn't say that every reef building company is that way, but the guys out of Orange Beach and Walter Marine and Joe Young here in town, trust them to, it's going to be your reef. Now, that doesn't mean somebody's not going to find it one day, because everybody and their brother's got radar now, and I run my bottom machine everywhere I'm going. And I may run it over one day and find it.
Is that right there, is that what they call broken bottom?
No, Broken Bottom's on the east side of the pass. This is on the west. This would be, that little section there would be White Hill.
Oh, okay.
But county reefs, natural bottom, build your own reefs. Building spots, my private stuff, I don't necessarily fish my private stuff every time I go. Whether I'm fun fishing or running one of my guide trips, we go fish throughout the day, and I fish public numbers, I fish natural bottom, I fish just regular stuff. Normally we fish till about 1 o'clock and start heading home. Well, about noon, I start looking in the fish box and go, we've had a pretty good day today. I think we'll just keep fishing. That's what I'm thinking to myself. And then I look at the fish box and it's noon and we got to quit fishing at 1 o'clock, and I'm like, ooh, we kind of suck today. We got to pull a rabbit out of the hat here and go hit 1 or 2 places where we can just boop, 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 and get a few, and okay, now we can come home. But you want to hold them in your back pocket, your really best stuff, because you don't want to have somebody run up on you while you're fishing it. You don't have somebody zap you with radar. If you're going to one of your private things or one of your really good places, if there's somebody within a mile of you, don't stop. Just go to the next one. Don't stop, because somebody will have radar, and some of the new radars are so good. They're accurate at 3 miles, and if I can, even if it's within 400 or 500 yards, I can go find it if I got a number, if I'm that close to it. Questions before we go on? Everybody's good? Damn, that's easy. So this is another one that we've talked about at every bottom fishing seminar we do, is how to use the split screen zoom on your screen. And for people who haven't seen us talk about this, what you really want to do is I need a bigger piece. If you're just running traditional sonar, this is the picture you have in 200 feet of water. And that doesn't look like much for fish. Most people pull up on that and they're just going to drive away. Well, if we have on what we call split screen zoom, on this side we're looking at the bottom 30 feet. You can adjust that by just pinching on this side, how much bottom you want to see. Well, we're only looking at the bottom 30 feet. This looks much better. Most people would think, okay, I need to fish that. They might not necessarily fish this. And this, you start fishing on something like this, where we have super hard bottom, the depth of the red, the deeper that red is, the harder that bottom is, the return. If this red is real thin, it's not really hard, it's not that hard a bottom. I might look for a better plus. And then we have this yellow and green right on top of the red, that's telling me it's live coral. We want to see that. And then we want to see these markings of fish. Now, we are talking about Amberjack. This particular one is more geared to slide on snappers and groupers. There are no jacks showing up here in the water. But when you start fishing this bottom, you're going to fish this for 10 minutes. This is just going to come alive. This is super good bottom. Now, Garmin did an update back on I think it was the 24th of April. And for the longest time, we thought they had taken split screen zoom away, and we were going through this cumbersome process where we were building a custom screen, and it would have traditional, and then we would set one side up for zoom functions. Well, what we found out, they didn't really get rid of the split screen zoom. For anybody that has a question about this, they hid it. It used to be across the bottom, you know, you would hit the home button, and then you have Sonar down here. You hit Sonar, and you would have traditional, split screen, and then any customs that you had put together. Or you'd have traditional, split frequency, split zoom. You still have traditional and split frequency there, but not split zoom. And then, like I say, any custom combo screens that you did. Well, and afterwards, if anybody wants to come up and take a picture of this slide, so you have this, to get to the split screen zoom now, it's really not that complicated once you memorize these little steps. You just click on Sonar, you click on traditional. In the bottom right corner, there's options button. You're going to hit the little options button, and then a little thing's going to pop up, a little side box window, and you're going to click on Sonar Appearance. Under Appearance, we click Zoom, and at the far right-hand side of the Zoom button, there's 3 little dashes there. You click on the 3 little dashes, then you click Mode, then you click Split Screen Zoom. Then it's back to what you've always had. The only thing that's a little tricky about this, if you are using any custom settings, if you're using a scope, if you've changed your color appearance, any of that, it will not be there. You will have to redo any custom settings you have. But they're again not a big deal, but that's where they've hidden the split screen zoom. We're hoping on the next update that they put this back under the custom options menu where it's much easier to get to. They haven't committed to say that yes or no on the next. I'm sure it will be back in the second revision down the line, but we're hoping it's going to be on the very next revision. But that's how you actually get to split screen zoom. This is another good view that has Amberjacks on the screen. Here's your rec down here, and how small on this one. If you pulled up to it and were looking full screen, you'd probably still fish this one, because this one it's a big enough rec and it has jacks on it that they're showing up. Mm-hmm. Yep. But what it looks like full screen, what it looks like in zoom function.
What wreck's at 65 feet?
It's how deep the water is.
What wreck though? Is that a secret?
That's one I built. That's one of my coops.
When you said wreck, I thought you were talking about boat.
No, that's actually a chicken coop. Yes, sir.
So the depth of the red right there, that shows that it's a hard bottom, right?
Very, very hard bottom.
Okay.
Now, when you're going, let's go back here for a minute. Back years ago, see, like here's this little section right out in here where I literally have nothing right out in this little section. Well, I can look right here, and I can see there's some pretty good bottom right out in this section that I need to go search around. If you were going to build chicken coops, you don't want your coop right over here. This is sand bottom over here. You want your coop either on or very near this ridge. It can be on the bottom side, it can be on the top side, it can be on it. But this will help you when planning where you're going to put your coops. Back in the old days, we just kind of had to somewhat guess. We knew it was reasonably good hard bottom in the area, but we just kind of randomly dumped them. And sometimes when we dumped them, they ended up being on a nice little ridge, and sometimes they ended up being over here on the sand bottom. A coop that's right here is not going to produce nearly as good as a coop that's right here. And this will, the first set of chicken coops you ever build, this will pay for itself because you'll be able to pick out where they need to be. The longer you leave them, the better they are. I would not fish one for a year. 12 months is my minimum. I really like to leave them for 18 months. But the longer you let them go, the more fish they're going to produce long term. And they last for about, they're real productive for 10 years. They produce for 15. And somewhere down the line, they get so much growth on them, they just cave in. And then it's just this little pile of rubble on the bottom. They will still always have some fish, but it won't be like it was when it was up in the water. What you think about it? You get, for $6,500, you get 10 places. You know, if you got 2 or 3 buddies you fish with, y'all split a set, you know, split some, and I would put, if I was building them for myself, I would have it where I had like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Have them in little lines where they're about a half a mile apart. So maybe 15 miles from the pass, 1, 2, 3. Then 20 miles from the pass, 1, 2, 3. Then 25 miles, 1, 2, 3, 4. Space them about half a mile apart. Okay, so that's where we're. This is another good one that has a good mix of fish. This one has snappers and amberjacks in it. And one of the ways that we can tell a little bit what the fish are what the returns actually look like. So notice this one up here. This, I actually have this circled as an amberjack. This could be a shark or a porpoise. It has a tremendous amount of red. If that's an amberjack, that's a real one. That's one that I don't want to catch because that one's 100 pounds or better. But the more red, when we have these little arches, the more reds that we have in here, that's our sonar reading the air bladder inside the fish. That's kind of telling us the size of the fish. That's why we can see that these are snappers down here. There's good sized snappers, but not nearly the size. These are, 40, 50 pound jacks up in here. This fish, whatever it is a good solid 80 to 100 pound or even bigger fish. But learning, whenever you're fishing, and you catch a couple species, snap a picture of what your sonar looks like and make a note of what that species was. Then you fish another spot. Well, it looks kind of similar, and snap you another picture, but I caught triggerfish this time, and this time it was mingos. Build you a little database, and over the course of time, you'll be able to look at the screen yourself and go, when you pull up to the spot and go, maybe you're going snapper fishing, but you pull up, oh wait, there's a bunch of jacks here. We need bigger baits. We need different poles and stuff, So you kind of, and this will also tell you, okay, if I'm amberjack fishing, I need to be fishing way up in the water column. If it's snapper season, the jacks are up here. Well, I know I need to get my bait below the jacks really quick and only bring it up a few cranks so I'm in the right depth for my snappers. They're a nice amberjack. This is just a piece of nice big hard bottom out there in 310 feet of water or so. Good jacks on that place. Questions about sonars?
There's no relief there at all. What's holding this jacks there?
I don't know. The question was, what's holding these jacks here? I found this place. I've looked around some. I was going from one place to another, and this is kind of in the middle of nowhere for me. I ran this over, and I was like, whoa, turn around and go back. There's something big close by. I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know if it's, because we have a lot of the ships that Alex has sank, but just like the ship a couple days ago that the Air Force sank, they're not going to release that number. You know, that one's, so there could be a ship or something fairly large that's attracting bait and other fish that these jacks are associated with that I just don't know. Yeah. But I think, you know, 3 or 4 more trips out there. This is 40 miles from home. I'll eventually find what they're associated with, but it's super good bottom. I mean, we got really good bottom. We got great growth. I mean, that's all coral heads are almost 5 feet. So that's a really, really great piece of bottom. So we talked a lot about how to use your boat and all that kind of stuff, how to use your electronics, a little bit about fishing itself. Some of my buddies will argue with me. The rig that I like is the 3-way swivel rig. And if for nothing else, is the way it stores on my rod. For when I'm running from place to place, I don't have a lead on here. I can have snap leads, because we're never fishing on the bottom, so it doesn't matter if we're using a snap-on lead or an egg lead. We call it bottom fishing, but we're really fishing up in the water column. Well, if you have a traditional, what we fished with for years and years and years, an egg sinker. Well, when we're running from place to place, you know, we got our leader, we hook it up here. We got our nice long leader for jacks. We're going to take this, wrap it around, store it up. We got this lead. When we're running, this lead is constantly beating on the rod, beating on the guide, beating on the reel. It just beats up your tackle. And it's just not good for your gear. Well, but taking this off every time, we have to physically cut it off. Well, using a 3-way swivel rig, you know, in the morning, we get to our first spot, I go through and rig everybody's rod for them, snap the lead on. With this one, if I want to change the size of the lead, I have to cut the whole rig off. Well, I might start the day out fishing in 60 feet of water and end up fishing in 360. Well, at that point, my lead's going to change size 3 or 4 times a day. Well, it's real easy for me to change the size of the lead. This is also much more aerodynamic, so it falls much faster, tangles less. So that's the rig that I like, is the 3-way swivel rig. Then, when we're going to go from one place to another, if it's just a short little trip, I like a boat that has a rod holder and a drink holder, side by side. So every rod holder has a drink holder. Put the rod in there, put the lead in there. If we're just going to make a short little half-mile jaunt. If we're going to go several miles, I have everybody take the lead off. Take the lead off, put it in your pocket. Now, put the lead in your pocket. Always take your hook, hook it in the foot of a guide, never through the ring of the guide, and pretty close to the top of the rod so this part of the leader stays nice and straight. So your baits look better. Come around the reel one time. Now, when we're running, that lead's not beating up my tackle. It's just a little bitty simple trick that'll change a lot of things for you. That's just another drawing. And so I have just some basic guidelines. Snapper leaders, I normally run about 6 feet. Grouper leaders, 12. And Amberjack leaders, 12 is probably plenty long enough, but there are days you may need an 18-foot leader. The jacks, especially in the springtime, you probably get away with 6-foot leaders on jacks and get all the bites you want. Jack's going to open in September. It's going to be hot. The more active your bait is, the more your bait can run and run and run and run and run, the more bites you're going to get. So having that leader a little bit longer is very helpful. I know that an 18-foot leader is a lot to ask of some people. It's, you know, that's a lot of leader. The swivel gets to the tip of the rod and the fish is still way over there. And I know everybody doesn't like that, but it will help you with bites. As far as, you know, leader size, snappers, I'm generally about a 60-pound guy. Groupers, 100-pound. Amberjacks, 80. That's just a starting point. There are days, this snapper season has been a perfect example. I'm a 60-pound leader guy for snappers. Well, if you drop all the way down to 30-pound leader, you're going to lose a lot of red snappers because they're going to get in their gills right here. When that line comes across them like this, gets it on their gill, boom, cut, gone, bye-bye snapper. Well, but there's so many days this year, I couldn't get a bite on 60. I had to go to 50, and I had to go to 40, and I had to go to 30. Well, I'd rather catch half, if I get 10 fish to bite on 30 and I only catch half of them, well, at least I caught 5. If I stayed with 60-pound all day and didn't get any bites, well, I got 0. So the same thing on jacks. My starting point is 80, and I will work my way down from there. And then of course, I like regular old Andy monofilament. It's my go-to leader. It's much more supple than fluorocarbon, and I actually think I get better action on my bait using regular mono. But there are days that we have to go to fluorocarbon there again to get bites. But the fluorocarbon is much, much more expensive. If you've got plenty of money and cost isn't an issue, then just buy fluorocarbon. But if you're like me and kind of watch pennies every once, like I do, I'll try to get by with the lesser expensive stuff. You know, there again, we talk about catching bait. Don't be. Notice when Josh pulled these baits up, here he brings the lead to him, grabs the lead, and holds them like this. As soon as you get your baits on, I see so many people get one bait at a time. Drop it to the bottom. When you get down there, pick it up and just let it free fall. Pick it up. And it's not jig like this for bait. It's pick it up and drop it. Pick it up and drop it. When you go to pick it up and you got one, don't start reeling just yet. Stop for a second. And just sit there and just lightly bounce it. And then you'll feel 2 or 3 more get on there. If you race it to the top, half of them are going to get off. Nice, slow, steady. Steady wins the race. Get them up to the boat. When you get them up to the boat, pick the baits up out of the water, swing the lead to you, grab the lead, come over to the live well, let somebody de-hook them. Don't be this guy. This is half my people. It's harder to teach them to catch bait than it is to catch snappers. They get their baits here, and their lead's here, and the gunnel's right here, and here they are. And then they're just reaching further and further. No, look, just pick it up. The lead will come right to you. As soon as you get the lead, turn around, put them over the live well, let somebody de-hook them. But I see this, every trip I run, I see this number here. Don't be that dude or girl. I hear you laughing too.
It's just physics.
When you're picking out a boat, the bigger the live well, the better. I don't care what boat it is. Bigger live well is better. Holds more bait, holds more water, baits live longer. The ones that like I say, bigger is better. The live wells that I hate the worst are the ones that are mounted right behind the helm station. And you got rocket launchers here, and the lids only open up about halfway. So then you can't really get the rod over there to dehook the minnows into it. When you're picking out a boat, pick one that has transom mounted live wells. Them ones, because the one that's mounted right behind the rocket launcher there, you'll be wetter running home than on a day when it's pouring down rain, because that thing splashes on you all day. It's a pain. I hate those. Oh, another thing I see people do. Don't put the net in the live well.
Pet peeve.
You put the net in the live well, that beats up your baits. We've gone to all this trouble to catch the right bait and catch quality baits, and then somebody puts the net in the live well. If there's not somewhere to put the live well, mount a rod holder, do something, but don't put the net in the live well. So I outfitted a new customer came in not long ago, outfitted his whole boat, really, bought a 45 Everglades, really nice boat. We've got almost a $2 million boat. It's got $30,000 worth of tackle. I sold him really good bait rods. The whole time they keep talking about these sabiki rods. I'm like, no, we don't need those. Those are awful. Sure enough, the first day I get on the boat, I've sold them good bait rods. I get on the boat, here's 2 of these stupid sabiki poles. We get out there, first place we're at, we're catching thread fins. And of course, the thread fins mess up the bait rig and break it off. And they're sitting over here for 10 minutes trying to get a new bait rig on. And I walked over there and took their brand new $100 sabiki rig and I threw it overboard. I hate them. They don't work good. They're too stiff, so you pull the baits off. And if you break the sabiki rig off, they reel the line up in there. Now you get to get stupid little wire out and try to push it through the pole. It takes 10 minutes to re-rig. They're awful. We sell them. Don't buy them. It's $100. Don't buy it.
How do you really feel?
Baits in this order. Hardtails, numero uno for Jack. Well, after the seminar, anybody who wants to know the real #1 bait can come up here. But #2 bait is hardtails. They'll be hard in the spring. They're very easy to catch. There's a ton of them. In the fall, when we're going to have Amberjacks open, they're going to be a little tougher to catch around the pass. Going back to the county and what Alex has done. He has done us so many good favors. But all up and down the beach from the pass, they have built snorkel reefs. So here's one at Henderson Beach. And then this one is at the Pompano Beach Street access. This one's by the Crab Trap restaurant. And then you got to then you get a little further down, and we got the Walton County ones have done the same thing. The Seahorse Wreck. They got these all up and down. There's a bunch of them on the east side and the west side. All those little snorkel reefs. Man, that's the place to go get your hardtails. Now, wasn't really designed for that, but it works good for that. The only thing that I can say, the only bad thing about all these snorkel reefs is shark bites. Go look at it. Go look at where all the shark bites have occurred. And every one of them is within a quarter mile of one of them snorkel reefs. They built an ecosystem for sharks. Because they get little bitty fish, they get bigger fish, they get bigger fish, and now all of a sudden we got sharks on the beach. Didn't have shark attacks till we had snorkel reefs.
Finally got more sharks.
$5 million worth of sharks.
But hardtails, then live herring. And I make a flip-flop herring and hardtails. If I have big herrings, I like herring better. If I got the little herrings, I like hardtails better, just because of their profile. Then cigar minnows, then pinfish, then ruby lips, or as the party boats would call this, a firemouth snapper. They keep those.
What kind of snapper?
Firemouth snappers.
I thought that was gonna be your number one right there.
And mingos. Mingos are great bait. Be very careful with mingos. They have a 10-inch size limit. It's not illegal to use them for bait. You can't have more in your live well than your limit would be for, like if you got 2 people, you could technically have 20 mingos in your live well because that's your daily bag limit. But they must be 10 inches. If you got them, I like the little 8-inch ones, but if you get caught with those, you're going to get a pretty good little ticket. So let's not do that. Bait, we already talked about baits. Using a de-hooker on your baits, I love the bait boat. I love the guys on the bait boat. That's my first option is to go and buy bait. But the baits you buy are not as quality as the baits you catch because they've been in a cast net and they've been in captivity. If we're tournament fishing, we definitely need to catch bait. But if you de-hook your baits with a bait de-hooker, your baits will last longer. They'll be more lively than if the more you handle them, the worse they are. And then the bait boat typically only has cigar minnows too. So we know how to use our electronics. We know about rigging. Now the things that are going to, y'all see I got my little stool up here. This is because my back is bad. Mary, you want to come with him? So, if you do not know what this is, have never seen this or never used one, you need these on your boat because jacks will, a 15-pound amberjack will beat you up. But this little dude here, talk about the rod for a second. This is my personal rod, and it has what's called a wood block on here. We can add this to any solid glass rod. This is our 1/2-inch rod right here. Same rod, but it comes, until people know what this is, they'll look at this and go, I don't know what that is, I'm not buying that. But we can add this to any one of our regular 1/2-inch rods. But what makes this unique is it works in conjunction with this little guy right here. So, when you're fighting a fish, most people think about a gut bucket, the old-fashioned gut bucket, and they want to hold the rod like this. This is activating your back muscles. With an amberjack, this is going to hurt you. Get the rod over here on your hip, so we're using these big old hip muscles, where you have a lot more power and you're more stable when it's rough. Then, we got this nice little rig right here. You're going to put this in the rod holder, and instead of having to try to lift and pull on that amberjack, all she's going to do is push downward pressure. And I like these fiberglass rods that have a lot of bend to them because this works like a shock absorber. And it just, as the fish surges, it does this. And the only thing you have to do at this point is you're putting downward pressure. All you got to do is reel. Nice, steady. Don't reel too fast. Don't reel too slow. Just nice, steady pressure. This will save your back and you will catch more fish. Oh. And this little dude. A gut bucket makes you put it here. This little guy right here, this makes it to where if I'm right-handed, if I'm left-handed, it doesn't matter. I can move this around and put this anywhere I want it. Don't have to be cumbersome with a belt. When you want to put it in a rod holder, just take this off and stick it somewhere. You need 4 of these on the boat if you don't have them. Let's see. Play. Oh, was that a still? Why aren't you playing? Well, it's supposed to be a video of Brandon using it, but he doesn't want to play. Huh. Oh well. I think y'all probably get the idea of it. The other thing, if you don't have on the boat, this is your fish dehooker. This is a hand gaff. This is a move the fish around. Every fish picture you see in Dustin, somebody's holding the fish like this. If you don't have dehookers, if we don't have two of these, I'm not going fishing. There's got to be one on each side of the boat. I don't want to have to be running around looking for it. And I swear sometimes we have four. If I'm fishing with buddies of mine, we might have four on the boat. And all of a sudden I want one. And where's all the dehookers? They're all up at the bow where the fish box is, because they take them up there, they put the fish in the fish box, and they lay the dang thing down. Bring it back! This is how it works as a dehooker. So simple. You pick the fish up by the hook, put downward pressure, just roll, off. Now why would this video play and the other one wouldn't play? That annoys me. But just so easy, just the easiest dehooker there is. It triggers, you need a pair of pliers. You know, when you're trigger fish fishing, when you're any kind of fishing, you need a sheath and a pair of, I don't even carry pliers. I just have cutters. I don't like the most pliers that have pliers and a cutter. I don't like the cutter. I just have the little cheap $12.99 cutters and a sheath right here on my hip. I can dehook fish with those. It's a cutter. If you don't have a pair of pliers on your side, I mean, I became that old guy. I got pliers here and a towel here. I like to have a towel handy. I mean, my wife gets mad because I come home and the towels smell terrible, but I got to have a towel and a pair of pliers to go fishing. Question about rigging rods. Oh, when you're choosing a rod, pick a reel that's 2-speed. I mean, the Shimano Talica is my go-to reel. These little guys are fairly lightweight. You can catch, I mean, this reel for a 100-pound jack has got plenty of power. But the main thing about it is it's 2-speed. Get you a nice 2-speed reel. Shimano's are my favorite. But Penn makes them, Dial makes them. All right, Mary, you got to come back up and be my guinea pig again. She doesn't even practice for this one. So I got a nice 5-pound snapper on here. So all I want you to do is hold the tip of the rod up and reel my 5-pound snapper up.
God.
Pretty difficult, right? Okay. Now reel my 5-pound snapper up.
Oh, a little better.
See how much easier that was?
That was better. Yeah.
It's basically, the first time she's reeling it up, it's in like a 4 or 5 to 1 gear ratio. The second time she reeled it up, it's in 1.2 to 1. It's just like going down, if you think about your truck, you're going down the highway, we're going to go down the highway in 6th gear. But if we go out to the hunting camp and we need to go up that big old hill over there, we're going to go up that hill in 1st gear. Well, these have the best of both worlds. You have low speed and high speed. And you can change it on the fly. You don't have to take it out of gear. You can be fully hooked up with a fish and be in high gear and push the button and go to low. You can go from low to high gear if you need to get up in a hurry. You know, I like it for when you lose a bait, where we can reel up real fast and change baits, but when we get a big fish on, it's just a matter of one click on, one click off. But
You have a lot of people throwing with your lever drags with people that aren't used to them.
you know, I don't think they mess it up any worse than they do a star drag. I mean, they know how to use their thumb or they don't. It still works pretty much the same way. So mostly when we do these seminars, it's about teaching. And a lot of the teaching leads to sales. But something that you don't see very often, the Shimano Talica 16, this is the new 2024 model. You don't see this from Shimano very often. $639 is what they retail at? $609.99 is their regular retail. We have them on sale right now for $500. Just the reel. That's as good a deal as you're going to ever see on a Shimano Talica.
$579 2 years ago.
Yeah. $500 on sale right now. And I don't know how long it's going to last. But they are on sale at $500 right now. So we talked about rods, reels, line. You can get by with just regular 60-pound mono. I personally prefer braid. Braid is more sensitive and I can fish with heavier line. This rig here has a 100-pound braid on it with an 80-pound top shot leader. Your top shot only needs to be about 20 feet or so. The top shot's there just for a little bit of stretch, and so your the braid is so soft, whether you fish with an egg sinker or a snap rig, the braid will want to tangle on your swivel and lead. But having a little piece of mono on either side, just 25-foot piece of mono is all you really need. But like I say, I got 100-pound braid with 80-pound top shot on there. I use the same line whether I'm snapper fishing, grouper fishing, amberjack fishing. So that's just our typical bottom setup. Now, amberjacks love jigs. They especially love jigs in the springtime when it's cooler and they're much more aggressive, but they'll bite jigs all year round. Having a nice little jigging setup, these for their size, this is the little Shimano Travala rod with Saragossa 6000. I wouldn't want to do battle with a 100-pound jack on this, but the average jacks that we catch are about 40 to 42 inches and weigh somewhere between 15 and 30 or 40 pounds. That's kind of an average jack. We can catch all those we want. We can catch on this little rig right here. Like I say, you put a 100-pound jack on here, we better have a really good angler and a lot of time on our hands. You can do it, but it's difficult. But a nice little jigging rig. Now, generally speaking, when we're snapper fishing, and this depends on depth of water too, but I like the broader profile jigs. These have a lot more action to them. But where we're catching jacks, if we're inside of 150 feet, the regular JY jigs, these are great because they have more action. They'll get bites. But if we're going to get out there and fish some of those ships that are out there, some of the new ones that they're putting out now that are in 200 feet of water, 250 feet of water, or we're going to go out there and fish some of the big ridges and the big rock piles, we need a much slimmer profile jig. Something, because at the very beginning I said there was one of the keys is fishing vertical. Whether it's your bait or lure, if you're dropping it and it's over there, we can't feel the bite. It needs to be able to fish straight up and down. Well, this wider profile jig, it has a lot more room for the current to move it away. So when we're deeper water fishing, these slender pencil jigs, while they don't have quite as much action and you have to impart a little bit more action to it, it will stay vertical and you'll be able to get more bites. And this is my buddy Scotty. You can see we have this, how the jacks can be this aggressive. This is not like a one-time deal. I've seen multiple times where we catch 2 at a time. One on the top hook, one on the bottom hook. Not uncommon at all for jacks. Don't think I've ever caught 2 snappers or 2 groupers or 2 scamps at a time. But I've caught 2 jacks on one rod 100 times. Oh. If you're lazy and we get to that super, super hot period of August and September, a downrigger can catch you a lot of amberjacks. It's great for going out and exploring these new places. Let's say you want to go down there to the steps off Pensacola and you've never been before. You don't have any marks. You just have the chart settings and you're going to go off of that. We're going to go down there and we're going to take our downriggers. We're going to put one downrigger down there about 75 feet and another downrigger down there about 100 feet. And we're going to troll live baits from one rock to the other. We may not even mark the jacks on the screen and we'll get a bite and it's like, oh wait, got a bite right there. Hit that mark, fight that fish, get that amberjack in, come back around to where we marked that bite at, and we're going to find a school of amberjacks sitting on top of one of them rocks. This is a great way to go learn some new bottom. And you'll catch other species while you're doing it. I mean, you may catch an amberjack, you might catch a mahi, you might catch a tuna, get a wahoo bite. There's a lot of other things that are going to do it. But a set of downriggers going and learning a new area, fantastic way to go and research a new area. Because you can fish while you're doing it. And this allows us to cover more water. You know, typically we think about downriggers as a trolling device, but we're trolling for amberjacks while we're going from rock to rock, because those rocks that I was showing you, they're like, there's one here, there's one at the door over there, and then there's one at Lulu, so they're real close. You can just go beep, 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 beep. It's like driving a video game. So definitely take advantage of your downrigger. Questions? Everybody's an expert now? So somebody from here is going to teach the amberjack class next year, right? On how to do it. I've been talking for a long time. I've been talking for an hour and a half. Didn't really know I was going to talk that long. Mary, you want to go get our little basket?
Hey, Tim?
Yeah.
Something you hadn't talked about with Garmin is a Panoptics or a live scope, front vision. Is anybody out in here in Destin running that? You see a lot about it, bass fishing and striper fishing. But is anybody using that here?
So the question is anybody using live scope? Yes.
And how deep does it work?
Depends on how deep your pockets are. So,
2,000 to start with right up front, so it gets kind of sporty quick.
well, the really good ones are about 200,000. So the Grand Champion, the Marlin Grand Championship now has gone, the question is, what about live scope? Well, the Marlin Grand Championship has gone to having an open division and a sonar division. This is how effective it is. If you do not have it in the big Marlin tournaments, you absolutely 100% are not competitive. Because if I could pull up, if I'm in a boat that has it, I can pull up to a rig, make a lap around the rig and go, there's a Marlin, and he's only a couple 100 pounds. Those tunas are all in the 150s. That's a shark. We'll just go to the next rig, run 20 miles. Drive around that rig and it's like, oh wait, that Marlin is, he's over 500. Maybe he's 800, but I know he's 500.
The bigger they are, the more realistic they look on the screen.
Yes. And then at that point, we get our downriggers and we get 2 about 8-pound blackfin tunas. And I'm up there on the radio going, okay, guys, the fish is down there at about 300, so let's set the tunas at 250. So we dropped down 2 tunas, and we're driving going around the rig, and you're watching him on TV. It's like, okay, he's coming, he just ate it. Zzz. It's that effective. Now, granted, the smaller the unit you have, the less power it has. But some of those big tournament boats, they have, I don't know they have 200,000, but they definitely have over 100,000 in electronics.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a different game. I mean, if you can afford a $10 million Viking, a couple $100,000 in electronics is not a big deal. That's, I don't even know how the guys afford gas for the weekend. I mean, hell, they had a $20,000 fuel bill for the weekend. Can't do that. More questions before we give some stuff away? All right, Mary, you can draw a couple names. We've got 4 little prize packets to give away up here. By the way, next month is going to be on blackfin tuna fishing, which is one of my favorite things to do. I love Amberjacks are cool, but I can't. My back, I just can't do it. Even with this, I can't hardly do it. But now tuna fishing, we can run 20 miles out and catch blackfins all day. Now I'm talking.
Julie Jenkins.
Julie, you get a little prize packet here from
Oh,
Legendary.
Thank you so much.
Oh, don't lose that one.
Thanks.
Brandon Moore.
Here you go. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Ben Stage.
All right, Ben's still here. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. And one more little package, prize package.
Bob Julian. Is that right? Why not?
She said something anyway.
Yep.
Well, appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you everybody that came tonight. Hope we see all of y'all next month for the Blackfin seminar. If you have any questions, come up and see me afterwards.